What if Dooku told the Jedi Council about Darth Sidious? That's our story for today. Hope you enjoy, and let's get right into it. Our story begins inside of the Sith lair on Coruscant, as Dooku is finishing a duel with Jedi Council Master Yaddle. She and Dooku have known each other and been fairly close for a long time. But now Dooku was being forced to kill his old friend in order to preserve the secrets of the Sith. Not long ago, Dooku told Yaddle that he was afraid it is too late, and that may be true. Dooku has already aided in the death of one friend, Sifo Dyas, while also building up the clone army in secret. Dooku was almost overwhelmed at times by how much he'd put into motion. He finally defeated Yaddle, closing the hangar door on her, and Darth Sidious approached the unstable Dooku, telling him he's done well, calling Dooku his apprentice for the first time. With Maul seemingly dead on Naboo, Sidious felt it was time for Dooku to step into the role of true Sith apprentice. Sidious told Dooku to rise, and the two of them were alone in the dark. But a second later, Yaddle returned. She began lifting the hangar door over her head, straining hard, letting the light in from the outside, as Sidious was hiding his face. She couldn't hold on for very long, and soon Yaddle fell into the lair, shutting out the light once more. Dooku walked up to her fallen body, but he was hesitating. Seeing Yaddle's resolve as she tried to show Dooku the light, even in her final moments, gave Dooku some pause. Sidious ordered Dooku to kill her, and his path to being a Sith will be complete. So Dooku ignited his blue blade, lifting it in the air, but his hand was shaking. He could not finish it. Instead, he turned to Sidious and said perhaps she could be useful on their side. Sidious scowled, then pinched two fingers together to quickly kill Yaddle before lifting Dooku off of his feet, choking him in the air. Sidious told Dooku he still has weaknesses for the Jedi Order. He still sees them as peacekeepers, rather than what they truly are, protectors of the privileged elites in a galaxy of corruption. Sidious dropped Dooku to the floor as Dooku was gasping for breath. Deep down, he knew Sidious was right. He knew the Jedi Order was broken, perhaps broken beyond repair, but he still respected so many of them. Yoda, Windu, Yaddle, Qui-Gon, and Dooku apologized to Sidious, saying he will not hesitate next time. Sidious said he hopes not, for his own sake, and the two of them parted ways, as Sidious said he would be in contact very soon. As Dooku flew his speeder back to the Jedi Temple where he came from, he felt as if Sidious were watching him, staring right into his soul. It was deeply chilling, and Dooku remembered what Yaddle said before her unfortunate death. She told Dooku it's not too late, but now she's gone. Dooku convinced himself that maybe he can still get out of this. Sidious killed Yaddle after all, not him. Dooku needed guidance. He was spiraling. He needed something, a friend, someone who was calm, yet rational, and not afraid to speak their mind. Dooku needed Qui-Gon, or at least the presence of Qui-Gon, and so he took off for Naboo, where Qui-Gon's body was just cremated. Dooku would arrive at the place where Qui-Gon's funeral was held just as the other council members were leaving, as well as Obi-Wan Kenobi and a young boy. Dooku was hiding out in the distance by the river with his hood up, and he closed his eyes, feeling into the Force. The boy with Obi-Wan was strong in the Force, and this was intriguing, but soon enough, the Jedi all flew off into space, allowing Dooku time to finally visit Qui-Gon's grave alone. The Jedi Master was cremated, and the bed where his body was burned was now closed, and so Dooku stood right next to it, placing his hand on the tomb, closing his eyes. A single tear rolled down Dooku's cheek as he apologized to Qui-Gon, saying the Jedi should never have sent him with only Obi-Wan to face Maul. Dooku said that perhaps he should have been there. He said that maybe he could have saved Qui-Gon, but now he is the one that needs saving. Dooku was venting to himself, not thinking anyone could be listening, but it helped him to be with Qui-Gon. Dooku said the pull to the light is stronger than ever. He knows the galaxy needs fixing. He knows the Jedi may be long past being able to fix the galaxy, but still, the pull to the light haunts him. And Dooku's connection to the Force and to Qui-Gon was so strong in this moment that suddenly a voice came to Dooku, the voice of Qui-Gon, telling him the same thing that Yaddle told him. It's not too late. Perhaps his crimes can be forgiven if he does what is right. The darkness is unnatural. The light just needs room to shine. Dooku heard this voice, and it sounded more like a whisper in the wind than anything else, and yet he knew it was Qui-Gon. Whether this was just an echo in the Force or actually him, Dooku didn't know, but he came here for help, and he just received it. Dooku looked up to the moon and he accepted the truth. He is a Jedi. Many hours later, inside of the Jedi Temple, Yoda was speaking to the Jedi Council about his decision to let Obi-Wan train Anakin. Yoda described how Obi-Wan was not going to take no for an answer, saying he would leave the order to train Skywalker if need be. So Yoda decided to allow the training. Windu said that after some contemplation, he was in favor of the Jedi training the boy, though he did question if Obi-Wan were truly the right master. Yoda said only time will tell, and part of Windu wondered if he should be the one to train Skywalker. As the meeting continued down different paths, the Jedi Council doors swung open, and in walked former Jedi Master Dooku. He looked tired, and he told the Council Masters that he must speak with them immediately. Dooku looked over to Yaddle's empty seat, and he was filled with guilt. And as if reading his thoughts, Ki-Adi-Mundi said that Master Yaddle stepped down from the Council, but she has unfortunately been missing for some time now. The Council deemed it likely that she went on a retreat to find herself in the Force, but Dooku closed his eyes and said that was not the case. Master Yaddle is dead. Gasps filled the room as Windu asked Dooku how he knows this, and Dooku decided to go all in on the honesty, saying that he was there. He watched as the Sith Lord killed Yaddle. No one spoke. They were all waiting for Dooku to continue, and so he did, telling the Council that the Republic is now under the control of the Dark Lord of the Sith. Windu leaned back in his chair, saying that is impossible. The Jedi would surely be aware of it, and Dooku snapped back with much more venom in his words than initially intended, that the dark side of the Force, along with their own arrogance, has clouded their vision. And Dooku continued, saying that he's been warning the Council of this coming darkness for years. Until now, the Republic is under the control of the Sith Lord, Darth Sidious. Yoda leaned forward now with his hand on his chin, slowly shaking his head, and he asked Dooku if he has turned to the dark side. Has he joined the Sith? And Dooku stood up straight, saying he felt he had no choice. The Jedi Order has refused to listen to reason for years, until now they are blind to everything around them. Adigalia spoke up, asking why Dooku has come to them now, and Dooku said that he simply just cannot let go of his light side. As hard as he tries, at his core, he is a Jedi, and he feels this is the way. Depa Billaba asked if Chancellor Palpatine is aware that the Sith are influencing him, and Dooku said of course he is aware. Palpatine is Sidious. Dooku wished he had more proof, but the Council could tell that he was telling the truth, and upon hearing this, they decided to make an immediate move on the Chancellor. So 3 Jedi shuttles were soon speeding across Coruscant, each of them carrying 4 Jedi as they moved towards the Republic Executive Building. In one of the shuttles, Dooku was with Yoda, Windu, and Depa Billaba as he suddenly felt a shift in the Force. Something was wrong. And in space, 3 Trade Federation landing dropships emerged from hyperspace. Despite their loss on Naboo, Gunray and Sidious had many more droids ready around the galaxy, and upon sensing Dooku's hesitancy and his betrayal to kill Yaddle, Sidious realized his plans were in jeopardy. So today, as the Jedi were coming to take care of him, Sidious and Gunray launched this new wave of the droid army to invade Coruscant. As the dropships entered the atmosphere, Chancellor Palpatine was surrounded by his royal guards in blue armor, as they told him they must guide him to a safety bunker. And from the window of the executive office, Palpatine told them to wait. He looked in the distance to where the 3 Jedi shuttles were approaching his office, and he smiled to himself as 2 of the ships turned away, heading for the droid dropships descending into Coruscant. This was good. Palpatine knew he could handle 1 shuttle of Jedi and let the droids take care of the rest. He would blame Gunray and the Federation for all of the destruction that was to come, killing him and preparing the galaxy for an eventual war that would all circle back to the events of today. In the shuttles, Mace Windu called to the other 2 and told them to do what they can to hold back the droid invasion. They are going to handle Palpatine, and hopefully Coruscant can survive long enough. And so among the shuttles, the only one carrying Windu, Yoda, Dooku, and Billaba continued towards Palpatine. The rest of the council members turned back. Each shuttle was assigned to take on one of the droid landing crafts. One was landing in Monument Plaza, turning buildings, shops, and homes into rubble as it landed among the extremely popular plaza, perhaps the most popular place for citizens to visit. The dropship landed, releasing 10 tanks and around 2,500 B-1 battle droids and many droidicas. A dropship also landed outside the Jedi Temple, and another outside the Senate building. Citizens, politicians, and Jedi were scrambling to get to safety, or fight back against this sudden invasion. In Monument Plaza, panic erupted among the thousands of citizens as waves of battle droids poured out of the dropships, their blasters firing all around. Newt Gunray watched from one of the dropships with both anxiousness and excitement. Sidious promised that if this invasion was successful in forcing Coruscant to surrender, then he would be the leader of the upcoming separatist movement. And below, the once bustling square now turned into a chaotic battlefield. Local militia, vastly outnumbered and outgunned, struggled to mount any sort of a defense. And just when hope seemed lost, 4 Jedi Masters arrived on the scene. Ki-Adi-Mundi, Yarael Poof, Eth Koth, and Adi Gallia from one of the Jedi shuttles, initially targeting Palpatine. Ki-Adi-Mundi led the charge. His lightsaber was a blur of blue as he deflected the blaster bolts and cut through droids. Yarael Poof used his many years of experience to his advantage, twirling his saber around with speed to dismantle the droids from every direction. Eth Koth created his own path, fighting for the citizens as best he could, fighting with the citizens that were rallying with him. And Adi Gallia's agile form of lightsaber combat allowed her to leap over the enemy ranks, striking from above and going from tank to tank, disabling them as best she could. As the Jedi worked with the local militia, the tide was beginning to turn as citizens, inspired by the Jedi's valor, started to assist in any way that they could, forming a makeshift resistance against the mechanical droids. A lot of citizens had guns, whether purchased illegally or not, and they were fighting back against the droids, taking orders from the Jedi to get the people to safety. Coruscant was uniting around the Jedi, and across the city, at the Senate building, chaos rained down as droids overran the steps, swarming the grand corridors. Senators and guards were fighting desperately to defend the heart of the Republic, but they were not built for this. They needed the Jedi, and soon, a Jedi shuttle arrived. Leading this defense were Jedi Masters Oppo Rensis, Sazitin, Evan Peel, and Plo Koon. Oppo Rensis utilized his masterful battle meditation, boosting the morale and coordination of the defenders, creating some semblance of order amidst this chaos. Sazitin took over a nearby citizen ship equipped with blasters, and he flew above the droids, shooting them down. He was an elite pilot, and today he got to show off that skill. Evan Peel's ferocity and speed made him a whirlwind of destruction that the droids could barely keep track of, while Plo Koon's deep connection to the Force allowed him to anticipate the droids' movements, directing the guards and the senators to optimal defensive positions, finding medics to help get the injured citizens to safety. Together they managed to create a defensive perimeter, buying time for evacuations and reinforcements from Jedi that were sent out from the temple to help. And inside the Jedi temple, the situation turned quickly dire. Battle droids infiltrated the halls, their cold mechanical presence a very evil contrast to the serene, peaceful environment. Jedi Knights and Masters engaged the intruders, but the onslaught was relentless. And in the midst of the chaos, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Shaak Ti emerged as the key leaders. Obi-Wan was freshly knighted, and he was demonstrating his skill with the lightsaber and his growing experience against these droids from fighting with them on Naboo with Qui-Gon. He coordinated the defense, ensuring that the younglings were protected, as Shaak Ti used her advanced combat abilities to neutralize large groups of droids, guiding different Jedi Masters to help her. She was a calm center amidst the storm that also helped Obi-Wan stay calm as well. She reminded Obi-Wan of Qui-Gon with her ability to stay centered in the moment. In a secluded part of the temple, 10-year-old Anakin Skywalker was already showing signs of his great potential, as well as his need to help those that cannot help themselves, and he took it upon himself to protect the youngest of the children. His engineering skills allowed Anakin to operate a nearby console, sealing off certain sections of the temple to slow the droids. The younglings would follow Anakin into the council chambers, as only he had been in there before, and he helped all of them hide behind the seats as the sounds of blasters and lightsabers rang in their ears. The 3 battles spread across Coruscant were always meant to be a distraction, but Sidious did not anticipate the citizens rallying around the Jedi. To most of the citizens, the Jedi were always just religious monks perched up in their grand temple, but with real danger on the people's doorsteps, they got to be true witnesses to the Jedi, seeing them for what they really were supposed to be, keepers of the peace, dedicated to protecting the people. And so, the people would form their resistance, fighting back, helping the Jedi. And in the executive office, Palpatine waited as Yoda, Windu, Dooku, and Balaba entered. He turned to them and choked his 6 guards to death within a second, before pulling out 2 blades, preparing to kill these Jedi. Before the Jedi could even ready themselves, Palpatine sprang into action with a speed that took even these seasoned Jedi off guard. Mace Windu and Yoda moved in perfect sync, their lightsabers humming together as they deflected Palpatine's initial vicious attacks. Deba B'Elanna joined the fight as well, her elegant combat style complementing the powerful strikes of her fellow masters. And Dooku, once Palpatine's apprentice, now loyal again to the light, fought with a cold precision, his experience as a duelist evident in every swing, every slice, as he sought to avenge his darkness. Palpatine's power in the dark was overwhelming. He fought with a brutal, almost animalistic ferocity, his every strike fueled by hatred, anger at the Jedi, and despite their combined might, the four Jedi would find themselves pushed to their limits. They were strong, but none of them had ever fought anything even close to a Sith by this point of their lives, and Palpatine would turn his focus to Yoda, recognizing the Grand Master as his greatest threat. So, Sidious spun in a circle, blasting lightning to push the other three Jedi away, and with a series of brutal strikes, he forced Yoda to take a defensive approach. The elderly Jedi, though extremely powerful, began to falter under the constant strikes, and in a final, devastating move, Palpatine delivered the final blow, his blade piercing Yoda's heart. The small green figure fell, his body lifeless before it hit the floor. Windu's voice rang out in anguish as he called to Master Yoda, but there was no time to mourn, and Windu's former Padawan Deba B'Elanna did jump into the fight, fighting valiantly, her determination strong even in the face of Sidious. And Sidious's attention shifted fully to her. With a swift, merciless strike, he caught her off guard, one of his blades slicing through her arm, as the other saber sliced through her abdomen. She fell dead beside Yoda, her eyes wide with shock. And now Mace Windu, fueled by even more grief and even more anger, circled around Sidious with Dooku. Windu was deep in Vapad, and with Dooku he unleashed the full power against Sidious. The Vapad style, which channeled his inner darkness into combat, seemed to give him the upper hand for a moment. The clash between their lightsabers sent sparks all around the room, and the room was falling apart under their strikes. But Palpatine's skill proved too great. With a sly, evil smile, he unleashed a burst of lightning, catching Windu off guard. Windu did catch the lightning with his blade, but this allowed Sidious to cut deep into his leg with his own red blades, and Windu fell to the ground. Sidious moved, slamming his two red blades down at Windu, but Dooku stepped in to block them, and he told Sidious that his rule ends now. Sidious told Dooku that he was a fool for turning on him, and Dooku's response was a swift, powerful strike, his blade clashing against Sidious's with a fury born of years of regret and disillusionment. Their duel was intense, as Dooku's precision and skill met Palpatine's raw power. Sidious was screaming, laughing in between strikes. He was enjoying this duel, but in a moment of pure focus, Dooku found an opening. He was able to flick one of Sidious's sabers into the air, catching it in his own free hand, and Dooku pushed Sidious back now. He was overwhelming the Sith Lord with two blades, and with a final blow, he drove the saber right through Palpatine's chest. The Sith Lord's eyes widened in shock, and for a brief moment, he seemed almost human. And then with a gasp, Palpatine's body fell, crumpling to the floor. Dooku was breathing heavily, but he helped Windu back to his feet, his arm over him as the two of them left the office. Windu carried Yoda, and Dooku carried B'Elanna, as they left to see the rest of Coruscant was finishing their battle. One of the droid dropships was trying to escape as a group of Jedi infiltrated it, destroying it from the inside. The other two were already destroyed, and in the temple, Obi-Wan Kenobi entered the council chambers, calling out for Anakin. Anakin and the other younglings told Kenobi they were safe, and Kenobi informed the council they were safe as well. Newt Gunray would be captured by Plo Koon and brought to the Senate building where, with some influencing from the Jedi, he would confess that he was working with Sidious, who was now revealed to be Chancellor Palpatine. The Jedi would explain why Sidious attacked Coruscant to protect himself from the Jedi, and a new election process would begin. A funeral for Masters Yoda, B'Elanna, and around 30 other Jedi that fell in battle would be held, and soon Windu would become Grand Master, as the Elder Masters all declined and chose Windu. The new election for Chancellor would be an interesting process, and Jedi Master Dooku was a surprise candidate that quickly would gain a lot of traction, as he spoke on his views of the Republic, quickly garnering support, and in time, Dooku would be an elected Jedi Chancellor, thanks largely to the people witnessing the Jedi helping them during the invasion. And for years, Dooku and the Jedi would work to rebuild the Jedi as Dooku brought on Padme as his greatest advisor. Anakin would train under Obi-Wan, with Grandmaster Windu taking a lot of time to be with Anakin and help him train should the Sith ever rise again. And the Jedi Order would prosper, with Chancellor Dooku leading the Republic. And folks, that is our story for today. Let me know what you thought down in the comments. I wanted to do something where Coruscant is kind of invaded. Usually when I've done some stories with Dooku that kind of start around the time of Tales of the Jedi, it ends with Palpatine like dying in the Sith lair, but I wanted to take a different approach and just kind of have an all-out battle on Coruscant that is the droid army. I thought that would be fun to try, so hope you guys enjoyed that one. Let me know what you thought down in the comments, of course. Yeah, got some fun videos coming out later this week, so be sure to subscribe as we're almost at 70,000. Thanks a ton, and I'll see you in the next video.